Jay here.
Christopher here.
How you doing, Christopher? Everyone should be dialing.
Okie dokie.
Hey,
John
Jay here. Hey, John. How you doing?
Not too bad.
Good, good. Before everyone joins in, we've got the illustrious Christopher Broughton on the phone with us.
Hello. Hey, Christopher. Nice to finally meet the illustrious.
Peter is here. Hey, Peter. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jay. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Peter.
Hey guys, Kevin.
We got John. We got Peter. I feel like the apostles are joining us.
Yeah. Well, let's not go too far.
Hey guys, Chris with Track Killers.
How you doing, Chris?
Doing excellent.
Right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
How you doing, Jeff?
Jeff is here. We all here.
Hey, buddy. Is that Josh I hear on the phone?
No, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Good. We are so close to finalizing the broker-dealer deal now with TrackCoin.
Nice.
Great news. A lot more buying, guys.
It's gonna be a thing of beauty. You know, truly wonderful.
Nice.
Marco. Hey, Marco, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Hey, Marco.
You know, man.
Hey, who's that, John?
Yeah, John's here.
John's there. Who else is in here, man?
Almost everybody.
Everybody.
Okay, I'm late. I guess I'm a little late then. Okay, just got off work.
No, that's okay, bro. That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Marco.
Curtis is here.
All right, what up, Curtis?
What up, buddy?
Curtis, what's up? It's Chris.
Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
Doing excellent.
Doing good.
Curtis.
Same here, man. I'm in the building.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. I didn't anticipate that Moxie would go up that quickly. Well, I knew it was a good deal, but I didn't expect it. A couple of 4 days to be up at 18 cents.
Yeah, me neither. I thought I had a little time. A little more time. I did manage to get in good, though. Pretty good. Not that good, but to get in some more.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of buying and selling. So that's good.
Yeah, we've been doing a little hand-to-hand combat. Like we always talk about, boots on the ground. And we were actually with Christopher Broughton, me and Josh last night. We just had a bunch of ideas that we're gonna conceptualize,
Implement. Yeah,
be implementing, and he has a lot of exciting stuff going on. I'm sure he'll tell you about it.
Well, I've got some exciting news for you guys that's coming. But suffice it to say that we are down to 5% left of Ether. More Ether was delivered to the account today from Coinbase. So that deal is almost done. And I'm going to pop a bottle of Dom Perignon specifically for that.
Is that for TrackCoin or Moxie?
That's for TrackCoin.
Oh.
I'll be popping some Dom for that.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't, like I said, I take nothing for granted, right? I mean, for me, I'm working, like last night, I was up till 4:30 on the phone, 4:30 in the morning. Because now what I'm doing is I take cat naps during the day, right? Because of the time zone in Asia. So I got to do that. Then I had to help the brokerage firm in Singapore open up account of MetaMask, because they have to open up a whole bunch of MetaMask accounts. And they're smart. You know what they did? You guys are going to love this, particularly you, Peter. What they did is that as opposed to opening up the accounts for their clients, the broker-dealers are opening up on their behalf. So what they're going to do is they're going to set up sub-wallets within MetaMask, which will differentiate one wallet in their own account from one client.
Yeah, that would work very well, because being a broker dealer, they could just go ahead and do that and have an agreement between the wallet holder and them to be a custodian on their account.
Yeah, so what they're doing right now, just so you know, is they're setting up the paperwork to give them the ability to have discretionary account status over the token, so that they don't have to call a client. So there's a lot of work that's going into that side of this. I spoke with Alan's been good enough to have me on the call with the principals, plus the lead broker. So we went through that, and they're pretty good at MetaMask, because they spent 3 hours around MetaMask comfortably, so there's no issue. And thank God everybody spoke English. So that was. Is everybody on? Can we get started, or should we wait 2 minutes or 3 minutes? John, what do you think? Oh, speak of the devil. Is Bobby on? Bobby Bentley?
I just called him. He said he's going to try to come in later.
Okay, so we can't make it then, right?
Not right now, no.
Okay, so I can start?
Yeah, he said he'll try to make it in a bit.
Okay, let me just get started then. I have the luxury and the great pleasure of having with us today the CEO of Moxie Motion Pictures, Inc. Moxie Motion Pictures, Inc. is a Singapore domiciled corporation. There is a U.S. company as well. Christopher Broughton is a 20th Century Fox producer, formerly with Sony Motion Pictures as a producer there. His resume speaks for itself. I don't need to get into the resume part of it, but this is a man that is done everything, and guy's just incredibly gifted and talented as an entertainer himself. But behind the camera, for many of you guys, you may not know that he was a ghostwriter for many years for some of the largest studios here in Hollywood. And if it wasn't for Christopher, Ada would not be in the situation that she's in. Ada, my wife, and Christopher discovered, sort of moved her and discovered her, and we got a chance to meet Jamie Foxx as a direct result of Christopher. We met a lot of people as a direct result of Christopher Broughton. Christopher's just a class act all the way around, and I don't think I found anyone in my travails, in my relationships, that hasn't had one bad thing to say about that. That's just a class act all the way around. So what I thought I would... What was that? Disregard. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to leave the floor to Christopher Broughton just to tell you who he is, what he's done. And then what we can do is open the floor to questions about MOXI Coin and company in general and sort of the path forward. And just so everybody knows, Moxie Motion Pictures, Inc., part of the reason why the company decided to become its own token is because they're going to be doing motion pictures. And those motion pictures are going to be, they're going to have distribution. I'm going to tell everyone here, just before I get Christopher in. Christopher is probably one of the few people I know in the motion picture business that has the ability to have distribution before a film is actually even made. And it's because of who you know, not what you know. So because of who he knows, he's able to get distribution on just about any film he decides that he wants to do. He knows just about every freaking star in the business. You guys haven't been to his Instagram page. He's friends with people like Chadwick Boseman, who was in Black Panther. He's friends with, everybody. You name it, he knows everybody. And it's because of him that we've met everybody. So he knows everybody. So if he wants to reach out and touch someone, he can do that. So I thought I'd just leave the floor to Christopher. Maybe Christopher, you can just tell them a little bit about yourself. Moxie Motion Pictures Live, specifically the movie Live, and then I'll open the floor to any questions that anyone has.
Yeah, just before you start there, Christopher, could I encourage everyone to put your phones on mute so we're not getting background sound and we'll be able to hear a lot better. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Jay. This is amazing. I heard John and Paul and Matt. I said, I got the apostles on the phone. This is great. Anyway, thank you guys for coming on board and being a part of this. I'm a writer, director, producer. As Jay has mentioned, I've worked with a lot of different folks. Years ago, I used to work for a company called Lionsgate. And 2004, after dealing with them on a couple of different things, I won't bore you with all the other details, but I realized no matter how good a movie is, if you have no distribution, nobody sees it. And little did they know, I had a presence in China because I had produced a couple of shows, live shows in China. And I had a friend of mine who was working in a studio there, and I went to visit him, and I was watching him failing at making a movie. So the owner of the studio and I were talking, and I had been going back and forth to China since 1991, so that was fascinating to him because he was Chinese, and I had been in China longer than he had. He had spent his years in the U.S. going to Columbia College in New York, and he was a Wall Street guy, and did very well. And when Wall Street went in one direction and he wanted to go in the film direction, his father died. He honored his father and went back home to run the dad's studio and make movies, but he wasn't good at making movies. So, long story short, I helped them go from an 18-hour day to a 12-hour day, from a 16-hour day to a 10-hour day, and things were just magical in his eyes. And he thought that I spoke Mandarin. I said, well, no, I speak from the heart. He says, this is really good. I said, well, if you ever need anything else, I'm just up in Shanghai. Let me know. I'll be more than happy, to help you. And he says, yeah, there is one thing I'd like you to help me with. You're going back to the U.S. scene. I said, yeah. So he goes to his office and comes back and hands me a script. He says, it's a U.S. script. I want to acquire the rights to it. So I looked through the first couple of pages of this patterned thing, and I said, yeah, I'll get you the rights, no problem. And he says, why are you always so confident about everything? And I said, because I wrote the script. And I thought he was teasing me, and he thought I was teasing him. I said, well, okay, page 76. And I rattled off what page 76 was. I told him to pick another page. So we laughed about it. He said, why don't we do some things together? He made me a partner, and we built this studio in China, which is still running today. And did well, and I started to spread myself out through Southeast Asia, and we've had some fun with it. So when I came back home, I decided I wanted the success I had overseas, and I found out people couldn't get their films into China. So we shot a film called A Pound of Flesh with Van Damme, and I tested out what I had. So we had some Chinese investors put up the money. I begged them to let me, I put my house up, do whatever, and I'll get your money back. Within 1 month, I sold 3 territories, made the entire budget back, plus $400,000. And then my investors and my other Chinese partners didn't want to pay me. for this movie that we released. And my attorney said, let's do. I said, no, don't. They said, why? I said, they're thieves, their days are numbered, and I don't want to upset anybody. I'm an inventor, I'll keep inventing. And he didn't understand why I didn't want to do anything. And I said to him, I want you to understand one thing. I said, how do we sell and make the entire budget back, plus $400,000 over? And we hadn't shot anything. We only had the director and one actor and no crew yet. And he says, what are you I said, who went out and sold the territory? And he goes, oh my God. I said, that was my beta test. So now you know it works. And we just kept building from there. I've been doing all the, the circuit, of course. I'm at AFM again this year. And my whole thing is to start with a script. The script is a star. I can get anybody, pretty much. And then I go to my exhibitors. Those are the movie houses. And I sell a picture. So we're sitting at a point right now, for the first time, where people are coming to me saying, hey, we want to work with your Chinese company. We know that they got you running for them and doing things, and let's work on this, that, or the other. And I say, okay, let me see what I can do. And what they don't know is the person they're talking about is me. So it's been fun. So fast forward today, we're working on this project called Live, which I kept as an independent picture. And Live is an action, suspense, supernatural thriller. And Live backwards means evil. Live is about a famous doctor who can heal people without the use of medicine. He's got 8 patients. He keeps in a group that he's working on, all different backgrounds, different sizes, different things. And what we quickly find out is what connects them all, they've all died and come back with different gifts. Gifts in the past, gifts in the future, gifts of laying hands and healing. The doctor's using their gifts not only to help these people in the circle, but people outside the circle. What he hasn't told them when he was a child, he drowned and somebody brought him back. That's why he became this famous doctor. Everything's going great, so he takes an 8-year-old little girl who just came out of a coma and he brings her into the group. She does not speak. He wants the group to help her speak. He believes if she speaks, he can see what she saw on the other side and have another key to help everybody. But the first time this little girl speaks to somebody in the group, that person dies. She speaks to somebody else, and that person dies. Then she disappears. So now the doctor's trying to hold the group together, protect the research, and find this little girl before it can happen again. What he doesn't know, he's on life support systems dying. That little girl's from the land of the living. She's trying to bring him out because he's the only person that could save her, and that's not the spoiler. This film's been set up for a franchise, and my new strategic partner is a company called Fandango. Now, Fandango, Michael Beaton, who is president and works Fandango, also owns Box Tops Rewards. He has, Movie Works, Rotten Tomatoes, and so on and so forth. Just as of Monday, he brought me Tombstone Pizza, brought me Halloween Store, brought me a bunch of different IPs of people that want to come on board because they like the project. Together, we put a thing called God Bless the Vet, where everybody that buys a ticket for our movie sends a vet and his date to dinner and a movie free. We also put a program together where we have a thing where you buy a ticket, you get one free. We're going to advertise on the cereal boxes. Michael Beaton created that with the Avengers and put them on the cereal boxes and all the other stuff. And we came up with a new system to work with my distribution system to drive people into the theater. And we have mini concerts that we're going to do with this movie that's going to hit theaters across the United States. We've already been playing with it and repurposing these big IMAX theaters using the stage in front to entertain them with a live band. So these are some of the things that are coming to fruition right now. And as of 3 days ago, my buddy John Sally said, I want to be on board and work with you. If you don't know him, he's an ex-NBA ball player for Detroit Bad Boys. He's been doing a bunch of stuff and just got a TV show. We're also I have the top movie at 20th Century Fox right now. It's not an independent picture. Live is an independent movie. The Boy Who Knew Too Much, which is the film, is a studio picture. So it is a top movie there, and I haven't even shot it yet. We're going to use that celebrity to drive Live. I sold the show to NBC. We're going to use that show to drive Live. And as of about an hour ago, we found out through Michael Beatnett at Box Tops Rewards, I just got to give him some more money, we now have the Thanksgiving Day game, the Jets play the Patriots, and we're advertising the film or whatever we want during the game. So all of this stuff is coming to fruition. Right now, we're using every angle we can to take this movie over the top. Fandango's company has done the analyzing on the film. They said out of the gate, this movie alone is going to make, in less than a month, $100 million because of what it is. And they do statistics. This is what they do for a living. Fandango's been in the movie ticket business for a long time. And they don't have to blow smoke, my direction at all. They came on board because they believe in the project. They know me as a writer, they know me as a producer, and decided they wanted to be the Netflix. And that's why we come together as a team. And you guys are on the ground floor of that.
So what I wanted to add to what Christopher said is that Moxie Motion Pictures is a collage of different films. But for the first film, one of the things that Live is going to be coming out first, and much of the investment that goes into Moxie Motion Pictures, or Moxie, is going to be directed toward the actual movie in terms of the production and the distribution of the movie. And not only are people going to get tokens on that, but once the movie is made, there's an opportunity to actually make money on the ticket sales or receipts based off of the distribution model that Christopher has in place for domestic distribution in the United States. So this is going to, we believe unequivocally, this is going to drive the market. It's going to drive interest, obviously, in the market. And if anybody has any questions for Christopher, now's the time to ask about that. When it comes to the token, just so you guys know, Christopher has people in place that are looking after that. When it comes to the website, Christopher has people in place that are redoing or retooling the website so that the website sort of looks Hollywood, but looks at the same time like there's cryptocurrency influence there as well. So this is part of the reason why we've made a decision to change the look and feel of the website in and of itself. I want people to understand that Christopher Broughton has basically has two companies. If you guys didn't get that in what he said, he has a company within the 20th Century Fox family, and that specific company is directed towards motion pictures that are greenlit by 20th Century Fox. If you guys don't know, his last picture was a movie called Miracles from Heaven with Jennifer Garner and with Queen Latifah, and he produced that with Devon Franklin, and that did very, very well at the box office, very well. And because it did so well, they made a decision, the both of them made a decision to go to 20th Century Fox where the pasture was greener. So they're both at 20th Century Fox. Now, the reason why I say that to everybody in this room is because when you're making a movie in Hollywood in this business, there's the difference between an independent filmmaker and an independent movie that has what I like to call name cachet behind it. So, for example, you have a lot of people who claim to make films, and they probably do, but they don't have the ability to distribute the films, nor do they have the ability to leverage off of their contacts that are in the what I like to call the major motion picture studio world. And because Christopher is a 20th Century Fox producer, he has the ability to leverage what Moxie Motion Picture does in terms of distribution directly with the big studio. He can go to any number of studios because of his connections. So it's an entirely different situation than, say, someone who makes a independent movie and sort of is struggling to find distribution or doesn't know how they're going to get that distribution done, or how they're going to get it in the theaters. Christopher's working from the other way around. He already knows how he's going to get it in the theaters. He already has that distribution. So what he's dealing with is usually the production side of things, which is essentially tied up in the budget. So again, I'll leave the floor open to anyone who has any questions directly.
I have a question. I've been hearing some talks with TrackCoin and MOXI, and you guys have plans to work together in the future, or?
We're already working together, and
Okay.
these guys are phenomenal. And, soundtrack and things like that. I mean, they're great. I mean, if you know their music side, what they're doing, it's amazing.
I guess this is Jeff. For those who don't know me, co-owner of Track Killers, co-owner, one of the partners with TrackCoin. So Track Killers is the record label. So to better answer that question, it's all intertwined in a sense. And for the producers and the management staff and our execs that are on the phone on the record label side, gentlemen, some of you who I talked to yesterday, this is an example of what I was speaking about. Because Christopher, God bless him, but he's a busy man. Sometimes too busy for his own good. So where we come in, gentlemen, is we're going to relieve some of the tasks he has to do. Because musically, he's very talented, has a great ear, is a great artist himself. But where we come in is like, okay, hey, we know you have all these movies, all these projects, and music has to get done for them. Because if you take out the main sound in the Jaws movie, that shark isn't so scared. So sound is everything when it comes to movies. So we said, okay, so how about we help relieve you of some of this work that you have? We have a roster of superstar producers and recording artists and songwriters, as well as a great executive team. And Chris, he was all on board. So, gentlemen, we have a lot of projects that we need to need to get knocked out musically wise, and thank God, Chris Hines and Quincy, I don't know if they're on the phone, but they'll be flying in town tomorrow to help. Okay, perfect. Help us even with one of our other platforms, which is an automated platform, which Christopher Broughton will be using, which is kind of it serves as an Amazon almost, for lack of a better description, but just more AI-based. Where Chris will be able to go in there and literally file through, literally comb through the music and the content that you producers have produced, and he'll be able to just grab it, throw it in folders that he wants, and boom, instantly use it for his movies, and not have to worry about a lot of the red tape that side of the world has to go through to get things cleared, or even just the way the producers get paid. It'll all be automated and curated by myself, by Josh, by our music executive team, which is going to make his life just so much more easier when it comes to that side of things. So yeah, to answer your question, TrackCoin, I guess, and Track Killers, the record label, and MOXI are all working very closely together. Yeah, and it's just, there you go.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear. Because I know TrackCoin is doing really well.
Yes, sir. So, I can answer that. So just, that was a two parts. One for you, and then one for our producers, so they know, and the people who are here from the music side of the company, they'll know how they will be getting involved.
Jeff, how do you keep the two tokens separate? Is Christopher going to Is he employing basically TrackCoin to do what you're doing for him and also producing the music? Or is there some way that TrackCoin and Moxie are going to be combined in some way? You know what I'm talking about here?
Yes, I do. Well, they're two separate companies. Trackkiller is two separate companies. Domiciled two separate places. It just so happens to be that, well, obviously, you know, a lot of those same people that are involved with TrackCoin are involved with Trackkiller. As far as keeping them separate, JT, you may be able to answer that question a little bit better than I would, sir.
I can answer that also. Whenever you do a movie, in the budget, you hire out people to come and do your soundtrack and do your score. TrackKiller has first, dibs on that because we're partners on a lot of other things musically, and we help each other out on that end. So it would be a separate thing. They're two separate companies.
Correct. I was just going to add what Christopher said. It's two separate entities. One is obviously a cryptocurrency platform for artists and for music and for musicians in general. And the second platform is a platform that specifically is film, television, and cable oriented. And what you have here is you've got a writer, producer, director, Christopher Broughton, who has the ability to bring distribution to any product that he creates or that he chooses to syndicate. And that is a unique opportunity because of the fact that he's already connected with 20th Century Fox already. So, and this is the distinction I want everybody to understand. A lot of producers at 20th Century Fox have their own production companies. And you'll notice that when you go and watch a movie, for example, you might see 3 different production companies involved in that movie, along with a major studio. And it's because, there's a lot of co-producers in these kinds of situations. But the movies that end up going to market are the movies that are typically created by individuals that have some sort of contextual relationship with the major motion picture studios. So I don't know if everyone's aware of some of the issues directly related to, Harvey Weinstein used to completely control the business in the independent film marketplace, but that's because of Harvey's relationship with Miramax previously. And Harvey had a relationship with some of the big motion picture studios. So as a direct result, he was able to parlay that into a lot of independent success. And since that vacuum, since he's left, it's created a vacuum where you're not seeing as many independent films. You're seeing more films here in Hollywood where the studios back the film. And whatever you do see is typically rehashed. Sort of like old movies that they're bringing back. Whereas the independent film market, which, realistically, that's where all your Oscars come from, that's where all your awards come from, that market has shrunk demonstrably. So a company like Moxie Motion Pictures with Christopher's background and Christopher's ability, we believe that, they're primed, they're well placed to come in and take a percentage of that independent market, using much of the distribution outlets that he currently has, domestic with the major studios, and foreign through his own contacts, for example, in China. So, for example, for many people who don't know who the Wanda Group is, if you don't know who the Wanda Group is, Wanda Group is one of the largest, if not the largest, Chinese company. Based in Shanghai, I believe, and the CEO of the Wanda Group is good friends with Christopher Broughton. And when Christopher wants to do a picture, he's got the ability to go directly to the CEO of the Wanda Group to get that movie put into multiplexes in China. Again, if anyone saw Crazy Rich Asians, if you guys haven't seen that movie, that movie made hundreds of millions of dollars. It had a lot of good marketing. It was a good picture. It had good people in it. The premise was good. But what a lot of people don't know that I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years that I've been here in Hollywood is that it was well written. And a movie actually can live or die, not based off of the actors in the movie, but the kind of script and the writing that comes with it. And anybody that I've talked to in Hollywood, this is one of the best writers around. No question asked. So, and that's part of the reason, as I said before, Fandango, which is a major, major, major coup, has made a decision to work with. So, there is a separation between church and state, but within that separation, you have both companies are going to be working together, because in every movie, as Christopher mentioned, there's always a score in every movie, and that's where Josh and Jeffrey and their team come together.
And the beautiful part about it, gentlemen, for those who don't know, the way we set it up and the way we organized it with our producers and the talent, because keep in mind, TrackCoin benefits in the.
So I just want to say to everyone here, okay, Moxie is a major opportunity. TrackCoin is obviously a major opportunity. There's some big things going on with TrackCoin. Obviously, there's some reciprocity going on with TrackCoin and Moxie, which I really can't get into at this particular moment, because there's a lot that's yet to be that they're working on that's yet to be sort of finalized. But suffice it to say, there's a lot of synergy and a lot of opportunity to work with each other, because of the fact that both particular gentlemen come from similar backgrounds. Christopher obviously is film and entertainment and music, and if anyone's looked at his resume or dossier, he's got a tremendous background in that area. So,
yeah, I think, Jay, it would be nice, Jay, to speak also to the similarities as far as the structure, the business structure of each of the two companies, as far as the coin is concerned, because that's where the synergies really are. Because they're templated very much the same. Although they're in different industries, they have matching, you might say, profit sources. One has box office, the other one has concert sales. You know, they both have different types of licensing arrangements. All of these things are very similar in similar industries, yet independent from each other. And so they're able to have very many synergies which act in unison together. And I think that is something that everyone should try and appreciate, and that's why there's such a synergy between these two companies.
Okay, so let me get into that real quickly. From the investment perspective, as Peter mentioned earlier, from the investment perspective, Moxie Motion Pictures, the token, is built exactly the same way TrackCoin is with respect to its capital structure. The only difference is that because of the sheer size of the industry that he's in, specialists thought it wise to create about 750 million tokens. And again,
please mute your phone.
Please mute your phone for the love of God. Please, guys, come on, seriously? Let's show a little respect. Okay, so there's about 750 million tokens that are sitting in circulation supply. They're not circulating, but they're sitting in supply. And what that basically is, it's just basically like cans of soup on the shelf. That's sort of how it works. Right now, in the float, however, there's 5 million tokens in the float, and it's very similar to TrackCoin. Out of that 5 million, right now there's only about 100,000 tokens that are actually in the real float. The specialist has a wallet for the rest of the float that is not technically in the market. And that's part of the reason why the price has gone up demonstrably, from a penny to 18 cents in less than a week. So from an investment perspective, Moxie is very similar to TrackCoin in that respect, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least that Moxie Motion Pictures does, if not similar, if not more numbers. It wouldn't surprise me in the least, just because of the nature of the business that he's in. As it directly relates to investment in Moxie, I just want to get into the motion picture Live, because that's what this investment is directly related to. The independent movie Live is the first in a slate of movies that are going to be produced by Christopher Broughton and his team. And people's investment is slated for that motion picture. So that's what it's slated. John, are you there? Is Bobby there?
I texted him, but I don't know if he's in the room right now.
Okay. So it's slated for that investment. And that's specifically what it's for. I believe the movie, the production on this is a $5 million picture. Am I right, Christopher? It's $5 million budget. I don't know if Christopher's still there. Christopher? Yeah, it's a $5 million budget, which is, by Hollywood standards, not a large budget. But they're expecting to make, 10 times those figures at the gate and at the box office, simply because of the way it's being handled through Fandango and how they plan on using the tokens to assist in that process. So that's basically what I wanted to. Bobby, if you go ahead. I cut you off in mid-sentence. And actually, Bobby, I wanted you to meet or at least say hello to Christopher. Christopher, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Okay, so this is Bobby's been just for anybody, just so you know, Bobby's been a major investor in TrackCoin, and he's been a major supporter of TrackCoin. He's actually helped to work the chat room and develop so that people understand how to use MetaMask, how to use the wallet. Obviously he's been trained by John, but he's also, like I said, he's bought a lot of the tokens, and he's actually bought Moxie, and he's actually buying more Moxie. So I thought it'd be a good idea for you maybe to explain to him the possibilities on the movie side with respect to the money that can be made on the distribution once a movie is produced and distributed.
Well, the neat thing about doing a film and what we're doing with this particular film, we have tax incentives, which is wonderful too. When you go into a production with a film, that state or that country that you're in gives you tax incentives. That's great tax incentives now out of Thailand. Great tax incentives in, Atlanta, where we're going to shoot this film. The other thing is there's so many different brand integrations that are coming in right now. We're setting meetings up for this week, and they pay up front for that, for advertising in the movie. So we're looking at everybody from Target to Ford to all these different folks who are interested in this film because of what it is. We had a meeting with Xbox because they want to do a game version of the film. So movies don't lose money, they make money. The only way you could lose money on a film is if you make it and put it on your shelf at home, because the pipeline is huge. You just don't make money on the Saturday, Sunday, Friday when it's released. It makes money forever. You make it on the soundtrack, all the ancillary things, and then there's a world, not just the U.S. We're talking about the entire world here. So we're in position to take this film out, start shooting this film in December. So we're looking for investors to come on board now. They'll make money on the soundtrack. They'll make money on film. They'll make money on the ancillary. And thank you, Jay, for bringing some wonderful folks to us. And we look forward to having you guys come by and see it. I mean, any other questions you want to know, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, Jeff, Christopher, I'm sorry, it's Bobby again. What is the purpose for the MOXI token? How are you going to be using it? Is it going to be financing the projects?
Well, my team, which is Jay, has put this together because a lot of people want to be involved in a Hollywood motion picture and a Hollywood company. And the coin actually gets you involved in everything that we're doing. That's more on the company. The film itself is one entity in itself. So they're coming on board to watch. I got hundreds of films. Literally, we're sitting on 100 scripts that are written. So they're coming in, and the coin, there's things that happen with the coin. People buy a coin. They could, go to the movies with the coin. There's concerts, different things we'll have with the coin. So when they buy it or get the coin, they can hold it, trade it, sell it, do whatever they want. I mean, you know that. I mean, I'm learning lots of different things with the coin, and what we've been doing for quite some time right now is saying we want to use that for the coin. I'm like, great. So it's been fun. Jay could share a lot of those things with you, but if we're talking about the feature itself, we look for investors to come on board to be a part of the feature and to step into that realm with us.
Thanks.
Hey, Chris, this is Marco. As far as, I see the way that the price is moving right now, will the film, directly be related to the movement of the price once the films are released?
Absolutely. So see what happens, it's free advertisement for the coin and everything else. When we do our premieres, when we do the concerts, people know about the coin and they all want to get involved. The other thing, because we have so many wonderful, people, Babyface is helping on the soundtrack. So he's brought a couple of new artists to me, plus Track Point and all their artists. We'll have songs that won't be released to the public, but they'll be in our theaters, these little mini concerts that we're doing with Fandango, and people will be able to get them with their coin and get into the concerts with the coin. For some of the concerts, it'll be a one-time concert, which will be a lot of fun. But the coin itself does get you involved in what we're doing. And the film helps propel everything else with the coin. It's just advertisement, constant advertisement. They see that we're out there. Right now, we were just offered to advertise with the Jet Patriot game, which happens Thanksgiving. And we're doing some things on that end. So you'll see this thing jump leaps and bounds. There's a big...
Christopher's actually, just so everybody knows, he's in a meeting within a meeting because he's actually with John Sally right now. So he took time out of the day to get this done. So
Thanks, Jay.
No worries at all, guys.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm actually on set and they're moving stuff around. So the coin is going to be involved. The other thing that we're adding with the coin, that the guys and I have been talking about different things to add. People who buy a coin can actually have a chance to come on set with us and watch us shoot a Hollywood film. You can only do that if you have a coin. There's a lot of different things we're going to do with the coin, which is going to help us and help a lot of people to want coins. And I know for a fact you'll see it go up. I have a buddy of mine today who went, I can't believe you got this coin. I want to give me $1,000 worth of coins. I'm like, huh? And I didn't realize how crazy people are for these things. I really didn't. And thanks to Jay and Josh teaching me, how, exciting this is for most people. It's great. And they know I live in the beautiful people business. And one of my dear friends and buddies in this business is John Sally. And John has been telling people that I have a coin. And so it's been pretty funny with him.
That's cool.
Wanting to be involved with this. The guys can tell you, he called the other night. I put Josh on the phone with him. And right away he said, okay, give me this, give me that. Today's asking for more. I'm like, okay. It's kind of fun.
So what I was gonna add to what Christopher said is, the movie Live is in a way part of Moxie, but it's also separate from Moxie because Moxie represents all the movies that he has under that independent umbrella, whereas Live is one specific movie. So obviously,
it's like one identity.
What was that?
Live is just one identity of the company, and will we be part of the other motion pictures within Moxie?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, that's the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is for people to be. Are you guys familiar with crowdfunding and what Spike Lee did with one of his latest movies? Are you guys familiar with what happened there, or did you hear about any of the press about that?
Not me.
Well, okay, well, I'll just tell you real quickly. Spike Lee is an independent filmmaker, but he's also connected to the studio system. But most, if not all of his films are independent movies. And he's got one independent movie that he's in the middle of a production for that he actually did basically a Kickstarter thing. And he'd never really done Kickstarter before because, you know, he usually has one or two investors that he goes to. But one of his people said, hey, look, why don't you just try quick Kickstarter and see how it goes. Well, what ended up happening was he raised $14 million for Kickstarter in about 2 months. And it was a movie that he had raised more money than the budget was for. So, in essence, those individuals, what happens is when they invest in that movie, they're getting a piece of the gate at the end of the day once the movie goes into production and once it's distributed. So, whether it's domestic, foreign, DVD sales, syndication, cable, all that merchandise, all that comes into play with any content that's created by a producer who actually has some stroke within the studio system. Okay, and I want to make that point perfectly clear. This is a gentleman who is already working within the studio system. If you Google The Boy Who Knew Too Much, this is a greenlit movie by Fox. They've already greenlit it, and what they're doing right now is they're bringing in the cast for that movie. This is a Christopher Broughton, Devon Franklin production, okay, within the Fox system. So if you think of it from the context of that, and then you parlay that Fox system with the independent movie that Christopher is going to be making through Live and through Moxie Motion Pictures, which is the independent arm of Christopher Broughton and his team, it just means that there's a lot more opportunity to leverage not only talent, but to leverage distribution, which is where the money actually comes from. So, give you an example, I saw this from my own eyes. I saw Christopher get a distribution deal for Live. I'm just saying this, I don't mind saying this to everybody. Live, he had a distribution deal in his hands for Live for 2,000 theaters for a 6-week run, 6 times a day. Now, you guys may not know the import of that, but when you extrapolate the figures for that, that's a fair amount of capital.
I think what happens with a distribution agreement, it doesn't matter what film it is. It's actually money right away. That's why every filmmaker wants distribution. That's why we have these different film festivals and things. We're all looking to get distribution, because without distribution, you don't have anything. So if you have distribution for the film, actually 800 theaters is a major release for a movie. 800 screens, a major release for a movie. You can grow a film. My Big Fat Greek Wedding started out with, I think, like 400 theaters or something crazy like that. It became, one of the most, talked about big films that was out there at its time. We have a distribution agreement of 1,500 screens with possibly 2,000 screens. That's a major motion picture release film. That's like doing Panther or something like that. They do 3,500 screens. But even smaller screens, you know, even smaller films, if they get that, you'll make money like crazy. There was a film that a buddy of mine did, and a friend at Universal said, "Why do you like this film? Why do you think this film is so good?" I said, well, number one, it hits the people's head. They're going to love it. It's going to be great. There's no cast, no this, no that. I said, trust me, he's got the right distribution. It's the right kind of project. And even if he did nothing but sit on the bench with a guitar, it's going to make money because you already have distribution for the picture. That movie went on to win an Oscar, and that movie was called Get Out. And Peele, a first-time director, did this film, and it did very, very well for him. But it's all about the distribution. And well, the script and the distribution, you're in great shape.
Hey, Chris, I heard you speak about Fandango. Is Fandango going to actually be on board with Moxie?
And they're my strategic partners. So what they came to me for was they wanted to become their own Netflix. So Michael Beaton has put together a company called Box Tops Rewards Network. He's the guy who created, if you've ever been in the store and you see those cereal boxes with the superheroes on them, he created that. That's his brainchild. So he brought me in and said, I really like this guy. You know, he's got his hands on some great projects. And they found out I was the guy that was writing them. They said, we want to do movies with you. And that's how that got started. So we've been building and doing things. I just went with them to see them release a movie they did called God Bless the Broken Road. And then before that he did, I can't remember the other film. But there's tons of movies that he's done some amazing stuff with Fandango, and they're part of it. And we put together the God Bless the Vet, which we're using with the films that we do. And that's attractive to these brands, because what happens when we release a movie, Moxie Motion Pictures release a movie, we use Michael Beaton, who takes the brands he already has, and he tells them, okay, guys, you buy 400,000 tickets, you buy 100,000 tickets. He's just telling them what to buy. Why the brands do it is because they don't give a crap about the movie. They want the platform to advertise on. So that means they get their little name, screen credit, they get their name on, their platform, and in exchange they tell them who's watching, when they watch, how long they watch, how old they are, what time of the day, who they've shared it with. They have that kind of built-in technology, which is great. And if you've ever seen Netflix, or not Netflix, but Rotten Tomatoes or Flickster, that's also another one of their IPs. So they're all over the place, so these companies come to them. They're going to spend millions of dollars on advertising anyway. So not only are they spending millions of dollars, they're getting, let's say, their own type of track coin, because they get tickets. They can take those tickets and give to their customers, their clients, their friends. They use them for their company. And on top of that, they bought all the advertising. So you can consider that like a track coin to them getting those tickets. So it works for us. It's something that's very cool. It puts us in a wonderful position, and a great way how to break a film out.
Okay, cool.
I think what people should also try and understand is that these coins are actually recycled through the whole infrastructure. As Christopher was talking, these companies would receive coins for their clients or their people that have interest in purchasing or watching or attending events, movies, seller advertising, all of that. Those coins actually end up circulating throughout the system and coming back to the company again. And then they're recycled through the system again. So the total circulating supply is continually circulating. It's not like it's going to run out of coin at some point because there's so much interest and it's all being used up. It's a continuous circulation coin that just continues on for as long as it's being used.
Jay, are you saying that if someone buys a ticket, like to get into a concert, in other words, that token is the ticket into the concert, but after they've gone to the concert, that token gets recircled back?
This is Peter that made that comment. Yes, it does. It would go back to the company eventually because that was the source and it got spent. It's just like the U.S. dollar, okay? There's a U.S. dollar. Somebody buys a hamburger with it. The hamburger, okay, gets eaten by somebody. That's gone, but the dollar's still in existence. That dollar then went to pay for the hamburger and the bun and all of that. And then it all comes back into circulation again and comes back to the company. Because if somebody buys a number of coins and is entitled to go to attend a movie, that's their admission fee. Instead of using dollars and cents to buy a ticket, they're using their coin. That coin comes into the theater and goes into their till. Well, for them to have shown that movie, they had to purchase the rights for that movie, to purchase the circulation for their screens, and so they had to pay MOXI for that. How did they pay MOXI? The coin that originally came in the door because it was used to watch their production then goes back through to the corporation again. So there is circulation, just like a dollar is used by many people, many different ways. It's not like once a dollar is spent, the dollar no longer exists. It's just in somebody else's hands.
Thanks. That really explains it well. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Bobby, one other thing, too, is that the whole purpose of the token is to also use it as a utility. And in the course of using it as a utility, the purpose of the exercise is to be able to have people use the token so that they can redeem it later on. So I can get Josh or perhaps even Jeffrey to speak more about this. Josh, if you're on the line, but go ahead. Yes, sir. It'd be a good idea to speak about that.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for being on the line as well. I think when it comes down to it, every coin, every version of anything at some point needs to be tokenized. It's just like it was mentioned about, it's just like the U.S. dollar. You can use your U.S. dollar for just about almost whatever you want. And I think that's the key, is teaming up with people like Christopher Broughton who have a certain level of power, authority, or ownership in that world that has the ability to implement and integrate MOXI Coin into the purchasing transactions. For example, if I have 100,000 free tickets to the new Transformers 5, and I give away those tickets with a certain amount of token purchased, almost the same as you would say, like averaging down, where I gave you free tickets with that whole situation, as well as you just bought into Transformers 5. The key here is to realize we're not tapping into current flows, meaning the film makes money from certain things. Just how on the music side, TrackCoin makes money from music being in those films, in those commercials, in those video games. That's a separate money stream that has completely 1 billion% to do with publishing and licensing and syncs. But that has zero to do with TrackCoin, the token, as far as making money for you. It's completely separate, just how publishing is separate from licensing, licensing is separate from syncs. Syncs is separate from likeness and brand. So all 4 separate streams that have to do and can do with one song. So now you have one movie that may get produced by MOXI, And the MOXI Coin is one separate stream from the publishing, from the licensing, from the ticket sales, from et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important to understand that one piece becomes large, and integrating it, for example, I use AMC A-List. I pay $20 a month. I get to see almost 30 free movies. But the key is not to sell me the ticket. The key is to get me to the actual brick and mortar building where then I will spend money at the concession stand where there's food, there's drinks. I'm still spending money because now I have a reason to go to the theater. And the first entry point of getting involved, which is buying the ticket, didn't stop me. So what's more important, selling the ticket or getting you there to spend money? So when Chris mentions concerts in partnership with Fandango, this is something that we've already spoken about. It's more important to just get you there. Because once you're there and you're entertained, you're more than likely going to play an arcade game. You're more than likely going to buy a drink. You're more than likely going to get some food. You're more than likely going to want to take pictures with the director or the actors or the people who did the music behind the scenes. You're more than likely going to be entertained. And it's the same analogy that I think even Jay used with a baseball stadium. And I forgot which team you were talking about, but it was in the best interest of the person who bought into that whole situation to just give away free tickets, get people to the game, and actually make them spend money at the concession stand. This is zero difference. That's just marketing 101. When you have cryptocurrency, the most important thing that everybody has to remember is integrating it into everybody's everyday real life. So where MOXI Coin can be used not only just to invest into a film or it's looked at as a crowd fundraiser, it's now an actual piece of life. Like, imagine if I could use MOXI Coin on Fandango, or if I could use it on Flickster, or if they create their own Flickster, where then they're giving away or selling tickets as an affiliate with Fandango or a direct partnership. That changes the whole AMC, IMAX, Regal movie-going experience. Because now, look at it this way. This is the big part I think we all have to digest. I buy a ticket to the new Transformers 5. I got 3. I took my family. I paid about $100 just on tickets because I went to the IMAX Prime. So I went to the big one with the big screen and everything. And then I bought some food and probably spent almost $75 on that. So I spent almost $200 at the movie theater. I watched the movie's over, I go home. But now I still have this coin that came with my purchase. At the time, that coin was only $175 worth. Let's pretend it was all $1 at that time. So I have $175 worth of coin. But for some reason, 30 days later, that coin became $3. So now I have almost $600 worth, and I didn't know that it was actually adding up. I didn't know that when I pay to go to the movies, that I make money off of the movies, but I paid to just see the movie. I went home, and now I have more money than when I left. That portion right there allows you to feel and be a part of the actual movie-going experience, and more importantly, the actual cash revenue flow experience of going to a movie. So instead of just being a fan, sitting in the seat, watching in the movie, and spending all of your money, when you spend your money now, you're actually investing into something to where I can actually profit later. Because it was something I wanted to do anyways. This same similarity applies to track coin and albums or artists. You may were going to listen to that album anyway, or that song anyway. But now instead of only just paying Spotify $10 a month, and all you get is access to free music at that point because you've unlocked it with your subscription. Imagine that every time you use the iTunes concept, every time I pay into this album, I'm actually getting a piece of this album, which is represented directly with a token or coin that I invested into, hence track coin, hence MOXI. And I've now invested into a position that has the ability to allow me to now make money off of it as well, instead of just watching that artist get rich and go tour and do big shows and big stadiums, and I have nothing to do with that financially. So the similarities is allowing MOXI to kind of have the same infrastructure. And film and music work together, just like film, music, and fashion work together. there's zero separation in the actual kind of world. They both work very much so together. So to have that same format, investing into MOXI Coin and MOXI Coin growing over time, actually helping with a lot of that, and as far as the actual technology developments as well, and intertwining and integrating both worlds together somewhat, so that in the future, here very closely, that when you actually invest in the MOXI, just like Fandango, I can get a ticket to that film that I wanted to see anyway. Still go to the movies, but know when I leave, my $150 didn't just go to waste or just on entertainment, and it's a loss. I actually went to the movies, I enjoyed myself, I left, I went home. 2 weeks later, a month later, I'm actually making a profit off of going to that movie because of how the ticket was distributed to me and what the ticket came with, which was a security. And now it's used as a utility because I can use it within an environment that was created for it. 99% of these tokens don't have an environment for you to use it outside of that crypto world, which makes it very, it doesn't create the bridge between what people call real life and the crypto world. There's no bridge. I can't go to Walmart and use that yet. But imagine how simple it would be to just have a payment gateway and adopt a certain amount of users and volume, and making sure that the laws attached to it are correct and great. And it all starts with entertainment. It all starts with entertainment. When you look at records, why don't we use records anymore? Well, the entertainment business moved that out of the way because of CDs. Why don't we use CDs anymore? Well, the entertainment business moved CDs out because of MP3s and using an iPod at the time, or having the music stream of your personal collection. Well, why don't we use those anymore? Well, they integrated that into iPhones and smartphones to where I can actually just unlock a service that stays in the cloud, aka Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, SoundCloud, etc. The next phase is what we're talking about. It's making the entertainment business an open stock market, an open crypto market, to where now all of my everyday things I was going to do anyways, like Netflix, I paid them $10.99 a month. Do I get any money back for doing that? No. Am I investing into Netflix stock on the New York Stock Exchange? No. If Netflix had a coin and I bought into it, am I making money? Yes. Now my $10.99 means something different because now I have a reoccurring investment, which is something that the Robinhood app has, the Acorn app has, the ability to make reoccurring investments into certain stocks. So if you imagine you had $10.99 invested and Netflix came out at a penny on the stock exchange and now it's at $1, how much of a profit have you made? That's what we're technically doing right now, and I think that's the point of the exercise. At a penny, that would have been $1,099 right there. So if it goes to $1, I just made $1,000 because of my monthly subscription that I always pay anyway. That type of thing right there, if you can realistically think of that actually happening right now, if every month you were paying for Netflix, every month you were paying for Hulu, every month you were paying for Spotify or Apple Music Access, that all of that money was dumping into an actual security that could be used as a utility in the real world, but still actually has the ability to go up in price and make me a profit as a fan, as a user. That has nothing to do with the actual actors or film or directors or music people or the industry or the record labels or anything. Just for the fact, I paid my $10.99, I got in at a penny, I got 1,099 tokens. Today they're worth $1. There's my price. Tomorrow they're worth $2. Now I have another price. I'm $2,000 up and some change. $10 plus, that's $10,000, all because I invested into the company, which is very, very extremely similar to when you think of the New York Stock Exchange, or the OTC, or the NASDAQ, etc., when you invest into a company and kind of take the ride. Only difference here is it doesn't take years and years and years and years and years to see substantial growth very fast. And this industry, in the crypto industry, and people call it very volatile, but the volatility can work to your best interest if you know how to purchase on the dip, sell when you have increases. You have motion in the market, which is all you really need to make money. So this is just the fast track. The plans with Moxie are to integrate it into everyday life and to make things that they typically just do or give away a part of its actual future by giving it technologies, giving it payment gateways, giving it simple things like ACH, like allowing me to get in on a bigger way. I'm an investor. I like executive producing films. I like putting money on films. But instead of doing it the traditional way only, I can now say, well, I just did a $100,000 ACH transfer through the platform, bank to bank. They gave me some coin. I'm invested. So when it comes out, there's a direct correlation. And somebody asked the question earlier, will there be a direct correlation between the films and the actual coin? I think it'd be very easy to answer that question and say yes, because when we look at music, there's a direct correlation between Spotify streams and Billboard Hot 100 rankings. And it's reading the streams, and in the background it's using something that every program uses. It's called API. An API is basically an engine in the background. It's the ability to use a centralized system and just plug into the data. So just how you use Google and you go in there and you search for something, you're just plugging into the data that they already have. So when we have an API for Moxie, all of these films or box office just plugging into the data. So we can connect. It's like an outlet. So now we can actually read the sales that are coming in the same way that they're reading the sales, so they know how to come back and say, hey, this movie did 80 million at box office the first week. We can use that as a counting mechanism to directly regulate and help with the actual value of the token of the MOXI Coin. So now you have something that's really actually rising because that film did well. So it creates the actual situation of feeling involved with that film because you are. Instead of only thinking about one stream coming from that film, which may be ticket sales. You know, it's like a stadium. What would you rather have? A piece of the ticket sales, a piece of the parking lot outside, or a piece of the concession stand, or a piece of the artist who's performing? Those are all separate streams when you go to a concert. So this one is the separate stream, and I almost look at it as more of the parking lot than anything, because nobody ever really thinks about when you go to the Staples Center, when you go to a large stadium, and you're seeing 15,000 people park, and they're all paying $20 to $30 per park just for 2 to 3 hours plus. That's a lot of money being generated just off the parking lot. But who gets that money? Most people don't know. And most people don't also know that sometimes it's a shared situation, depending on the actual promoter and who's putting up the show. So I think Moxie token is the same way, exact same way. It has the ability to be just that. So now there's already a bunch of theaters in the world. There's already a bunch of IMAX, Regal. There's already a bunch of AMC theaters, etc. And if you now allow people to invest into a film when they're purchasing a ticket, or even if I don't go, and I say, I just want to put down $3,000 on this because I believe the film's going to do well. I think it's going to be popular. I think people are going to talk about it. I think people want a piece of that film as well. 2, it's a big film, Transformers 5. It's going to be crazy. Well, we all know it's going to do 9 figures at box office because it always does. Now I have something that I know is going to hit. But I think the biggest thing in those questions is realizing Moxie is young, Coin is young, a lot of these companies are young, but the ability and the people behind them have the authority, the connections, or the partnerships to not just write these things down in an executive summary and feed people pipe dreams, but have the ability already to implement and integrate these type of things realistically so that everyone profits.
Great explanation, Jay. Beautifully articulated. This is Jeff, by the way. And one of the beauties of all this, and the beauty of a lot of the same people being behind Moxie that are behind TrackCoin, is we're able to implement a technique that will manufacture excitement on both ends. For an example, Moxie will be using a lot of the recording artists and producers that are signed to the record label.
Well, we all know that for a coin to really stand the test of time, it needs to be backed by something tangible, so that everyone feels comfortable. It's not a pump and dump, and for it to do what naturally needs to do. Well, in the music world, as well as in the film world, they implement a lot of other techniques as well. But in the music world, we use a lot of press, a lot of PR, a lot of press to get people excited about projects, about certain artists. Well, imagine when, he's about to put out the movie Live, and we purposely did the production and put our recording artists on the soundtrack. Now, what that does is that gets everyone excited about that recording artist, because now that recording artist is, in a huge box office feature film, which is what we're going to, in the background, run our press, and that press directly affects track horn because they're intertwined. So for those who are on the phone who have some track coin, and those who are on the phone who have track coin and Moxie, you're really winning. And then in reverse, now you have this huge recording artist, this huge star. I just thought his name. Maybe it's a Lady Gaga, or it's for lack of a better example, Chris Brown, who now they're on every red carpet talking about this brand new movie that they have their record in, and everybody goes and says, "Oh, what is this movie?" Okay, well, now there's more excitement about the movie, and people in turn go and they buy more Moxie tokens, which benefits, like I said, everybody that's on the phone. So is using that technique, whether it's this or when we get into sports teams, or what may have you in the future, that's kind of the technique that we'll be using to make sure everything goes full circle and we can capitalize off of the energy of the other coins.
One thing I was going to add too, gentlemen, is that in the business of what TrackCoin is in and Moxie, they're really in what I like to call the influencer business. And what I basically mean by that is that for many of the, and I'm just going to use TrackCoin as an example, for many of the clients that come on board TrackCoin, many of the artists, their number one thing is to get as many streams, as many hits as humanly possible, because that sort of dictates their value. And the more streams, the more interest, the more individuals that follow them on platforms that they cannot monetize. So right now, just to give you some sort of idea, in the industry right now, there's only one specific company that actually monetizes for influencers, really, and that's YouTube. And they do it in a way that's not particularly all that conducive to success for the influencer, because as I mentioned earlier, some of these people aren't making the money they should be making, considering the amount of individuals that follow them. So, for example, when you look at a guy like Cutie Pie on YouTube, and I'm just I'm referring people that have millions upon millions of followers, or a Takashi69, they're not able to use their followers to the extent that they would like to. So this gives them an opportunity. Tokenizing their community gives them the ability to follow the success, the ebbs and flows of each artist, but it also gives them the ability to use that specific form of currency specific to events that individual may be in. So I liken it to what PK Louis, I can't remember he's a comedian, the guy who got into trouble. What's his name? C.Y. Louis?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K., yeah. Louis C.K., just so you guys know, if you don't know how he became popular, it wasn't by playing the circuit and going around and doing these shows all over the circuit. A lot of people do that. But what Louis C.K. did, which was unique for the time, for comedians at the very least, is he actually, with his team, produced a show online. And what they did was they charged tickets for people to watch it online. Now, he ended up making through that entire experience close to $2.5 million online. And again, they didn't use tokens, but they could have. See, that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. They didn't have to. They could have actually sold an online, or they could have had an online show, like an artist, any artist, whether they're a comedian or whether they're a, whether they're a fashion designer, whether they're a vocalist, whether it doesn't really matter. They could have done exactly the same thing that Louis C.K. did, where a person bought a ticket to watch a show, and all of a sudden, that ticket that they have gives them the ability to be a part of that individual's progress or individual's career. And in essence, now that utility becomes a security. So it's almost like owning a piece of credential, right, or owning a piece of this. I liken it to the owning a piece of the Green Bay Packers. If anyone knows anything about the NFL, I'm a big NFL and football fan, college football fan, and also NFL fan. And I've always been a Green Bay Packers fan for a number of reasons. It's a small market team, but it's not a small market business. And this is what a lot of teams can actually learn from Green Bay. In an age where owners like to move their teams, like the team in Oakland or like the teams in previously Cleveland and Indianapolis or Baltimore, they move their teams all over the place. In an age where that happens, Green Bay Packers have stayed who they are, and the reason why is because they've tokenized their community. I don't know if you guys know that. The Green Bay Packers have tokenized the city of Green Bay. Everybody is basically a stockholder in the Green Bay Packers. They have a chairman of the board, but the fans own the Green Bay Packers. So what that basically means is that team's not moving, and any things that they want to do to improve Lambeau Field, which they have done, everyone participates. And this is one of the reasons why that's such a successful franchise, because that franchise, try to get a ticket in Green Bay, and I'll tell you, most tickets are literally inherited. It's not easy to get tickets. And that just goes to show you how our entire community was tokenized by stock. Okay, so does it take much to do that with an artist? Does it take much to do that with an artist who's new or an artist that has some miles on them? No, it doesn't. Everybody can take advantage of that. I mean, let's be realistic. There's thousands of influencers on Instagram who don't get paid for the amount of people that visit their page, like their page, and that follow their page. Instagram doesn't pay anybody for that. Their hope is that maybe advertisers will come in and give them free stuff or sponsor them. What if an influencer was actually paid to do certain events, paid to handle certain things, and then the token was part of that experience for individuals? So it's almost like I said, tokenizing the community and giving the community the ability to earn income as that individual progresses, or as that entity progresses from where it was before to what it is today and what it will be in the future. And all of that is tied to one another.
Absolutely.
And with Moxie, as Josh adroitly said, the motion picture business is a massive business. It's a huge business. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business. And when I say trillion-dollar business, I'm not kidding. It's also one of the few businesses that is completely unregulated, meaning that nobody really opens up their books. The major motion picture studios really don't open up their books to the pension funds that are putting money into these movies. I want you guys to stop and think for a moment. You know, studio movies right now, just about every studio movie, and Christopher will agree with me here, the minimum budget for a studio movie is probably about $100 million. Minimum budget. I mean, there are some budgets that are much smaller because they're independent movies that are made within the studio system. And the only reason why that happens is because, you know, the studio system will put out independent style movies from time to time, but it's rare. It's very, very rare. Those budgets are $100 million, $200 million, $300 million. Where do you think those budgets are coming from? They're coming from pension fund money on Wall Street. And so what are the investors on Wall Street getting in exchange for their investment? They're getting three things. They're getting, one, a return on investment from ticket sales or the gate or distribution. Two, many of them are getting a return on investment as debt because they might have made that investment originally in debt. So anytime there's forward-looking sales, such as what Christopher described, such as selling of territories, you know, particularly foreign territories, they're making their money back that way. And thirdly, they're making their money on the stock that they received, compensation. This is why movies get made. This is why people make movies. So when you want to know, does a movie bust? Well, it may bust at the box office, but it doesn't bust for the people who put up the money. And the reason why is because that movie has a life a lot longer than the shelf life that you may have seen it at the box office. It has a life beyond that. When it gets syndicated on television, when it gets syndicated on DVD, you know, conversely, not just the movie, but the score that gets syndicated along with that has a life beyond it. It's sort of like a commercial. You know, you see these commercials, they keep going over and over and over again. Actors get paid monthly off of those commercials. You know, that's how it works. That's how the money's made. So I just wanted to lay that out to everybody right now. And Moxie's a great opportunity. As I said before, Christopher's been in the business for a long time. Getting MOXI Coin or getting Moxie to the point where we can create a token out of it, this is new. It's a new thing. But I don't want you to get the idea that Christopher's new or the concept new. It's not a new concept. What is new is the currency that we're using, but it's not a new concept. Ticketmaster does it. You know, Green Bay Packers do it. A lot of people do it. It's just a function of what you're going to do it with. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel here. That's all I have to say.
Those are fabulous explanations. Thanks so much for providing that, Jay, and all the other guys in there. That's fabulous. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the wonderful info, guys. That was awesome.
And Bobby, if you would like to, if Bobby, John, or anyone would like to talk to Christopher directly, you know, that can be arranged. What I've sort of tried to do is, because of Christopher's time, what I'm trying to do is Josh and particularly Jeffrey, they can sort of coordinate those efforts because there's a lot of synchronicity there with respect to this. And as I said before, you know, people are very happy right now with the token going up from 1 penny to 18 cents. But we have much larger fish to fry. So the scale and scope of the investment needed to complete the movie, to complete some of the other things, those are the things that are more of interest to us. So because we understand that the rate of return on those kinds of investments are only going to enhance the value of the token moving forward. And I don't know if Christopher or anybody else has anything to say on that subject, but that's sort of how we're looking at it, the long-term situation.
It sounds like we're minting new currency.
Yeah, we're inventing, it's kind of funny, we're inventing currency to use it in ways that have already been done with other things. So in many respects, we're not actually reinventing anything. We're giving people an opportunity to make money from the same people that help them become who they are. So I want you to stop and think for a minute. If I'm an artist or a new artist or an existing artist that has a fan base, I usually right now I can only make money from my fan base if I go out on tour as an artist.
I don't.
I can't if I'm a movie producer and somebody really likes my movies, I can only make money when they actually show up to the movie and purchase a ticket. Right? Well, why does that have to be? I mean, why can't followers or people that follow a particular artist make money through sort of like a private audience with that individual? I liken it to Patreon. Are you guys familiar with Patreon on YouTube? I don't know if you guys know what that is, but I follow this one particular gentleman on YouTube because I've been to China. Like Christopher, I've been to China. My wife and I both been to China, Ada and I. And before we went to China, we wanted to get information about what it was like to travel within China, because we don't know what to expect. So we started watching his videos on YouTube. Turns out this particular gentleman, he makes about $10,000 a month, but he has over 400,000 subscribers. Okay, and he's got millions of views daily, but the amount of money he makes is nothing compared to the views he gets, which is a function of YouTube just basically committing theft. Okay, so what does he do to bridge that problem or to solve that problem? Well, he's got a Patreon site, and what he does is he provides special information to his Patreon donors. And that information is not something that the public gets a chance to see. So a lot of that background information is completely separate from the videos he puts out on YouTube. And what we later found out is that the Patreon page generates more money for him than any of the streaming views could generate for him through YouTube directly. And this is interesting in the context of why would people do that? Well, because people love seeing his content. Okay, they love it. When you like good content and you want to see it, you want to be part of that experience. So what he's done is he's tokenized his community. He's tokenized, and he's also selling merchandise. And again, we're talking about somebody who's a YouTube sensation, not somebody like Christopher Broughton. It's a two different, and that's no disrespect to this gentleman, but it's two different categories, right? And that goes for the Josh and Jeffrey. It's two different categories because you're dealing with individuals that are in the business and that are professionals as opposed to people that started it as a hobby.
And where it's really cool and where it's really exciting is, gentlemen, we're on the cutting edge. Just a little information about myself. I was born in the 80s. So I don't remember a time going to the movie theater and there wasn't an arcade, which, for families, that was a chance for mom and dad to have some alone time and get popcorn and talk before the movie started. But for kids, that was the best, probably the best part of the, family night, was going and doing 30 minutes or 45 minutes before, either after the movie, in the arcade. But I can imagine, probably before me, there may have been movie theaters without arcades. So, but now, if you go, it's yo, you guys don't have an arcade? Or even more recently, all these theaters, they have restaurants and full bars. At least the one I go to in Burbank, it has a full restaurant and a bar where you can get a cocktail before the movie. So just imagine a world, fast forward, where, what we're doing with Moxie, where you guys don't have your own token? What? I can't pay with tokens, or I can't get benefits, or I can't get special features? Just fast forward a year from now, it takes that long, 6 months from now. It'll be weird. It'll be strange for this not to be a feature, and this not to come with the movie or come with the package. So to be the first to do it and be on the cutting edge and to innovate it it's just really, really exciting. And I'm excited for everybody involved and all the investors, and just the planning and the execution of it. I'm elated right now.
You know, Jeffrey, I was just going to add, I just saw, and this is, I didn't even solicit this. I just saw an ad here in LA, and it's from Bill Gates. You know what he said? The future of currency is digital.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll give you guys a quick story without talking your ear off. My grandmother, God bless her, she used to give us checks for Christmas. You know, I'm like, you know, she gives us a $50 check or $100 check, whatever, for Christmas, and I'd be like, Grandma, I'm 11 years old. What am I supposed to do with this? You know, and it was still at the time where there wasn't such thing as a debit card, but she was old school, and she just would not accept debit cards. She's going to write you a check. You know, but eventually what happened, you guys, is we phased out checks for the most part, and now we're even phasing out cash. Now, you swipe your debit card, or even you pay with your phone. You just swipe your phone over the right there at the counter, and it pays. Or some stores, some smart stores, you don't even have to actually pull out your physical phone. It knows when you walk in the store, like some of the Amazon stores, and it just, because, you know, you have your account on your phone, you walk in, grab what you want, you walk out. I never had to pull out my wallet or my phone. So technology is going in a direction where it's going to be, like Jay says, it's going to be digital. We're going to be phasing out a lot of things and phasing in a lot of new things. So the key here is to be ahead of the curve and be on the cutting edge of it, so that way you're not getting left out. Because at least in my experience in life, you know, there's two things. There's producers and there's consumers. Which one are you going to be? Are you doing the screwing and getting screwed? You know, so we got to be on the other end of it, gentlemen and ladies, and make sure that we, you know, that we can make history and we can we can really get ourselves in a great space.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to add, Bobby, because you've been a major supporter. This is called not just for Bobby; it's for everybody. But you know, one thing that we've done, and I think you know, the thing I really appreciate with the people that are running TrackCoin and Moxie is that this is a long-term strategy. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. The one thing that we've realized is that when people try to put money ahead of people, or when people try to look for immediate gratification out of something as opposed to something that is a cause and effect type relationship where things happen for a reason, bad things usually happen and things don't usually work. And I've seen it in the stock market. I've seen it over the years in the stock market so much. The token market, I see it a lot in the token market in the peer-to-peer space. I appreciate the way that TrackCoin has approached the situation. For anyone who wants to know, you know, next steps moving forward for TrackCoin, next steps are to take it. We're planning already. We're already in the planning stages right now for $10, $20, $30, $40. That's already in the works. And adding functionality or functions to the blockchain that currently aren't there, which is exactly related to tokenizing the community. Very similar to what I was talking about earlier. Moxie is in that same category. So for anyone who, you know, has an interest in what's happening with Moxie and TrackCoin and any of the other tokens on the specialist market, I'm going to tell everybody this. Where you trade matters, but the process directly related to how you trade matters equally. And what I've come to appreciate from Josh, from Jeffrey, and from Christopher is they understand distribution better than anyone here. And I'll tell you why. Christopher understands that without moviegoers in the seats, there is no movie. Okay, if people aren't watching the movie, if they have no access to be able to watch it, then it's just collecting dust. It doesn't mean anything. The same way TrackCoin understands that if you put out an artist and that artist is not getting viewed or streamed, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, so those things matter, and so as a direct result, when you understand that, you understand a lot of what I mentioned earlier, which is you're giving away free tokens, you're giving people an opportunity to get access to something, you're putting more value on people than the currency that they're using. And without getting into specific companies, when people start to do that, then the company will always benefit and will always do well. And this is one of the reasons why I appreciate what Christopher's done with Moxie. He understands that. Christopher understands that you got to give away free tickets to get people sometimes into the theater so that they can watch them. He understands that because in his world, that's a normal process. Okay, that's a normal process. You have to do. I call it the Costco approach to business marketing. When you walk into Costco, you see these people, and they're sitting down there giving you free samples. Sometimes I just like going to Costco to get free food, okay? But why are they doing that? They're doing that because the same people that are, whose food is being given out for free, I'm almost going to guarantee you this, 50% of the people that get that free food are going to buy that free food. That's guaranteed. Okay, so Costco's been doing this for years. You don't think if it didn't work, they'd be still doing it? It's a tried and true model, and these guys get it. So that's what I wanted to say about that, Bobby. So, Bobby, if you ever want to talk to Christopher directly or to Josh directly, that option's there. Anyone who would like to talk to them directly, they can schedule a meeting directly, face-to-face meeting to do that. Quickly, I do want to add, I want to make one point before I sort of close this out, is that with respect to TrackCoin, I want to say this. We are going to be setting up within it's going to be ready probably in a week. We're going to be setting up a wholesale program where the specialist will handle the transaction. It'll be like a dropper box on the specialist page where if someone wishes to sell a minimum of 200 tokens, the company, we've made a decision that we're going to buy back those tokens at a discount. That discount is yet to be determined, but suffice it to say that it's going to be large. So, because we're buying them back in bulk. And that's what the company wants to do. That's what the specialist wants to do anyway. But if we can buy it back cheaper from someone who, doesn't have the patience to wait, then that's okay. And when I say patience, everyone has their own level, their own pain threshold. I shouldn't call it patience, but what I should call it is, when someone wants to cash out, they can cash out, but just keep in mind that we're not going to buy it at a premium when they do cash out. And I don't know if Josh, you wanted to say anything about that, but that's basically how we're going to move forward there to make things a lot easier on the road as we move forward with the price on TrackCoin. And Moxie's right across. Moxie's right there. I mean, I can tell you right now, I foresee Moxie being, $4 or $5 here quickly, just like TrackCoin. Moxie's going to be a big deal. So if anyone doesn't have anyone to add or anything else to say, they can feel free to say so. To say anything. I don't know, is Kathy Gilbert on the line? If there's any women on the phone that want to say anything, please do. I mean, sometimes I wish there were more women talking because it seems like a sausage fest with all the men here. So it's always good to have women on the line.
Pause.
And I think that's the one thing I'd like to do is expand that, because I'd like to see more women in the room.
Agreed.
Less men. No offense to men, okay, but we probably wouldn't have had that situation with the muting problem if it was a woman. We had women in the room, so.
Into the detail.
Yeah, we definitely, that's the one thing, John, if we can do is, I'd like to have more women participating with questions, more women participating in the chat room if we can, and more women investing as well, more women involved.
Well, Anna was really knowledgeable with questions on our last conference call.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks everyone for joining the conference call. I hope Jay, Christopher, Josh answered everyone's questions. Like Jay said, if you have any other direct questions, you could contact Josh or Christopher through Jay, and you just simply message him on WhatsApp.
Excellent. And Christopher, I will call you back. Josh, I will call you back because I got some wonderful things that just took place while we were talking.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.